In some previous videos, I have been preparing my motorcycle to do some motorcycle camping, moto camping, and I've camped off this motorcycle a few times before, but never really that successfully. The way I packed the bike and the gear that I brought along was not really what I was hoping for. So I finally got it narrowed down to a few essential things, and went up into the Talladega National Forest to do a short weekend of camping. And since that was such a success, I decided that I wanted to take step 2 of my goal for this summer, is to do a moto camping and fishing expedition. And that's what I did. I rolled up into the Bankhead, and Bankhead National Forest is spectacular. It's a beautiful rolling hills with a beautiful river called the Sipsey that runs right through the middle of it, and lots of creeks and dirt roads surrounding it. So I thought this was the perfect place to test out my moto fishing skills. But the first stop was at Wal-Mart to gather some gear. So I'm outside Wal-Mart on my way to go fishing. I almost know what I'm doing, but not really. I don't have a lot of stuff, but this is what my moto fishing buddy told me I needed right here. And I need these for later. So anyway, so today, without the batteries, I am fishing for $12. That's fishing rod, a couple of starter lures, and I am on my way. Now all I got to do is put this crap on the bike, and in theory I'll be fishing here shortly. Well, there's tools in here somewhere. I just gotta find them. I don't want to carry all this cardboard with me. I guess that's what's holding me up. Boom. Alright. Does this look like a fisherman? Do I look like a fisherman? There it is. Alright, let's rock and roll. Going up to the Bankhead, unless I see something more interesting before I get there. After leaving Walmart, I probably wasn't riding for 30 minutes before I noticed the Alabama Mining Museum in a little town called Dora. And of course I had to roll in here and check this place out. And I'm really interested in mining history, so this was a pretty good fit. But of course they're closed at noon during the week, so I didn't get a chance to go in. But right next door I saw the old post office from Kellerman, Alabama, which was a huge ghost town, or it was a huge town. Now it's a ghost town. It had 50,000 people in there in that town, and now I think there's like 2 houses. So I hope to get back down and document some Kellerman. I've done a documentary before, a short little show on that before, but the main thing today, this ride was about the ride, less about fishing than it was about the ride. Just, I always like to throw little things on my ride sometimes to make it a little bit more interesting, rather than just riding down roads for the sake of riding down roads, which is the basic goal. It makes it a little bit more interesting if you have a goal at the end of or the middle of the ride, and that's what I usually try to do. And here I'm rolling over the Sipsey River, which is amazing, crystal clear water with sandy bottoms, big large rocks with sandy bottoms, which is kind of unusual. If you have sand, typically there's not a lot of visibility, but this is a very unique river. It flows for several miles with big, huge bluffs on either side of the river that have waterfalls dripping off them. So after it's rained, you can paddle down this thing. And I say paddle. You don't really have to paddle this section of the Sipsey. You can get in and right here at this put in here and float for probably 8 miles. You don't have to paddle at all. It'll take you all the way to the next takeout, which is pretty spectacular. But the waterfalls are very unique. I've never seen anything like it. I've paddled lots of rivers that had waterfalls on them, but not as many as this. This just seems like hundreds. And you'll paddle a few hundred yards, and the bluffs and the waterfalls will be on the right side, and then quarter mile down, the bluffs will change the sides, and they'll be on the other side. They'll be on the left side, and waterfall. It's pretty magical. If you ever get a chance to roll through the Bankhead, I would highly recommend, if you have a boat, put in right here and take out at the next takeout. And anyway, I just wanted to check it out. It's been a while since I've been up here, and I found a dirt road and another place I haven't been, which is the Borden Creek Trailhead. I rolled down here just to see what was here, because I'm thinking Borden Creek Trailhead, well, I bet there's a creek pretty close by, and it turns out there was. So at the end of this dirt road, I found a little barrier that had a little cut through designed for motorcycles. So I took the little cut through and rolled down to the bottom of what turns out to be an old road. This apparently was an old, probably pavement that's maybe been covered over. Maybe it's just broken up so bad that they just covered it with dirt or moved all the pavement out of the way. So this is on the other side of the motorcycle access fence, and got all the way to the bottom and found this lovely bridge, the old bridge that used to be here. And I can just imagine 50, 60, 70 years ago, however long it was that this road was in service. Rolling down through here, I bet it was just amazing. And it's had this nice long sweeping turn of a bridge that goes across the river here. And of course, I had to get out and explore. Well, shit, yeah, this is awesome. Borden Creek, wow, this is fantastic. Now this is really nice. This looks a lot like the Sipsey, but it looks like it's also going the other way. Huh. I need to get in here and hike and camp, I reckon. Now this would have been an extraordinary place to test my fishing skills on Borden Creek, but since I would have to leave the bike up at the top of the hill with all my gear on it, I was kind of afraid that people might mess with my gear. And I also had a concern of the rangers coming down and challenging my interpretation of the motorcycle access gate. So instead of hanging around waiting for trouble, I decided to find a little bit more secluded place, possibly, and maybe a little bit more accessible to the motorcycle. And that's exactly what I found. Further down, headed back towards Double Springs, I found this little turnoff just before the bridge that I absolutely was sure that it would take me down to very close to the water, if not on the water. And obviously lots of people with not four-wheel drive have been down here tearing up the roads, but that just means that I will have the place all to myself, because nobody's going to want to walk down this bank to get to the fish that I'm interested in. I got a little tiny rod because I'm not interested in pulling any trophy fish. I've never really been interested in sport fishing. I've always been interested in fishing to be able to eat fish, and that's really, I like the idea of fishing for fun, but the whole idea has always been fishing for food rather than fishing for sport. Same with hunting. I've never really been had the idea of killing things for the sport, for watching blood splatter. That's not my thing, although it's probably innate in most men and maybe even humans, I don't know. But I got almost down to the river here. I thought about taking it down further down to the water, but decided it was probably might be a little bit tricky getting out of this bed of sand down here. But you can see how crystal clear the water is, and this is probably a cloudy water because it's been raining this week, and it's even more clear than this typically. But this tiny little rod, somebody at the gas station after I left was giving me hell about it, and I just kind of ignored him. It's like, I'm not trying to catch the 14-pound bass. I'm just in here trying to get something that I could eat at camp one night. And obviously, the few minutes that I spent out here, there's not a lot of fish in this little section, but I did see probably 4 or 5 little 3-inch, half-pound fish in here, maybe at best. But when you're hungry, you can eat, and that's really what I wanted to prove to myself, is could I catch fish that I could eat on a little bitty rig like this. And as it turns out, obviously you can. I get this the crappy little reel jammed on me, so it took me a while to get the lure out from under the rock, but I finally got it out and started pulling it back across, and a fish hit the lure. Crazy.
Yeah. How about that? How about that? I don't know how to set a hook, but I got a bite. After I got my rig hung up under a rock or some shit.
So after this tiny little minnow tried to swallow my lure, I decided that the trip was a success at that time. Even though I don't know how to set a hook, or even if I wanted to set a hook on that tiny little guy, at least I knew at this point that the lure works. The reel kind of works when it wants to. I may actually wind up taking this thing back to Wal-Mart and exchanging it for something decent. I may get a whole different rig, but the lures are effective, and technique is the only thing. Well, maybe a reel and some technique combination might be where I'm headed, but I'm pretty excited about the idea of being able to go into the woods and fish and camp and maybe cook dinner and grill some fresh fish over a fire. So I loaded up, easily packed my rod back up on the bike, and rolled out of the rugged hillside that leads down to the creek. And I really prefer this type of fishing. I can get my bike down to the creek, to the river, to wherever I'm wanting to fish. I don't think I'm really into the whole lake thing. I want to be able to get some fresher water to be able to run it through a filter and drink it, and camp, and catch some fish, do something a little bit more exciting. I like the sound of flowing water. I can sleep like a baby if there's a little brook or a creek or a little bit of trickle of water nearby. But I could ride roads like this all day long too. That's a little bit of a challenge here. I did a little bounce after I bent down to go up under that tree branch. But this is I'm totally into this. A little bit of trail riding, a little bit of fishing, and throw some camping in on top of that. Man, that just sounds like a perfect weekend. So I'm pretty excited about rolling into the woods shortly. And I just got to get some time and find find another reel maybe. But the day was a success. I feel very strongly. I got a good ride in. I confirmed the fact that I can actually probably catch a fish if I can if I can learn how to set a hook. And I've caught fish before. I'm giving myself a hard time, but I'm just not really good at it. So I rolled south and wound up at a friend's place. They're building an off-grid house, and one of their first structures was to put this barn in, and I just wanted to come by and check out their new barn. This thing is huge, and they put it in a loft inside it so they can stay there while they build their house. But I was pretty excited to come by and see their new barn. Doesn't look like anything like the pictures they showed me. Beautiful little place in a town called Townley, just outside of Jasper, Alabama. And came by, stopped, hung out with my friend a little while before I headed out to a very unique place called the Townley Rest Area. And if you're ever in the Jasper area, you need to stop by Townley and check out Townley Rest Area. It's very unique and one of a kind. I would highly recommend you stop here and grab a picture.